Hey, beautiful soul. You're listening to the Rising into Mindful Motherhood podcast, your weekly dose of fertility wisdom. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. I'm a barefoot mama bear, pharmacist, and integrative fertility coach. This is your go-to podcast for all things to naturally nourish your fertility, embody womb healing, and reclaim your feminine power to accelerate your path to pregnancy. My expert guests and I will be having intentional conversations to discuss the many facets of a thriving, fertile foundation, natural wellness, and how we grow and transform as women on our journey to motherhood. So let's dive in, shall we? Hello and welcome to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. In this episode, I'll be talking with Kerry Hinds, owner and founder of Fertile Body Yoga, a virtual yoga studio that is dedicated to supporting women navigating their fertility journey. Kerry has been teaching yoga for 20 years and has been specializing teaching and training almost solely fertility yoga for 8 years. Her classes and offerings are informed by her own experiences with pregnancy loss, years of IVF, and eventually completing her family with 2 children. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing how Ayurveda can impact fertility in a positive way. So welcome, Kerry. I'm super excited for our conversation today.
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me. I'm excited too. I love talking about Ayurveda and how it can help people going through the fertility path that they're on. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And let's just dive in a little bit here. So it sounds like you've had quite the journey to motherhood. So how did yoga and Ayurveda impact your fertility journey? What did that look like for you specifically?
Yeah, so at the time when I was going through all my fertility woes, if we should say, going through IVF treatment and pregnancy loss, we were living in Germany at the time. And so I was really lacking a lot of external support system, mostly because I didn't speak fluent German. So what there was available, I was not taking part in because it was so stressful to even try and speak German, let alone pour my emotions out in German. So I had been studying yoga and practicing yoga for many years before I walked into the IVF world and infertility. So what ended up happening is my practice really started to morph and change as I was going through my treatment and so on. And what started as a practice that was rather robust and energetic and really active and arm balances and headstands, like all the crazy, super fast. I never did hot yoga ever, never liked it, but it was definitely like power yoga style. And during the fertility journey side of it, just went totally into the softer realms of yoga, which is really what yoga was in the beginning, right? It was softer, gentler. I looked into the restorative yoga, which was really helpful, as well as just slowing everything down, like reconnecting with my body. And rather than depleting my body through this like high energetic style of yoga, it was more about nurturing my body and nourishing myself, and not just body, but mental, emotional, as well as energetic, spiritual too. So that's what I love about fertility yoga. It's just all wrapped up into one beautiful little package for us. Yeah, that's how it all started. And my journey was many years long, about 3 years long. We experienced pregnancy loss, chemical pregnancy, loss at 10 weeks, as well as multiple IVF cycles, egg retrievals, IUIs, etc. And what ended up happening was I took a step back from IVF. I was like, I'm just done. I was over it.
Mm-hmm.
And so was my husband. We were not living life the way we wanted to live life. We just were not particularly happy anymore. So we decided to take a step back. And what happened was people talk about it, like when they decide not to do IVF anymore, then they get pregnant, which is exactly what happened with us. So we were pregnant 2 months later after we walked away. And then again, 9 months postpartum, I was pregnant again, really just like having sex once, probably thinking, oh, we had our miracle child. This is never going to happen again. And we were pregnant again. People ask, what was it? Why does that happen? And I cannot explain it. They've done studies on it, but there is just a point that you get to that you realize, this was us anyway, not everybody, but for us, we realized that we could have a fulfilling and wonderful life even if we didn't have a child. It didn't mean we didn't want one still, but we came to the realization that we were going to be okay. And that was a huge relief, I think, for my body that just went, oh, thank you, like a big exhale, like I don't have to perform anymore. I don't have to be like on the spot or constantly trying to be fixed or whatever. Like it was just like, ah, oh, thank you. And then it happened. So that's my story. Hopefully I covered everything.
Yeah. So would you say that yoga and Ayurveda helped you get to that point where you could just release that pressure that you were putting on yourself?
Yeah. So my connection with Ayurveda came a little bit later. So like at that time, it was mostly just like a physical yoga practice. And I would say that yes, because yoga really brings us into a state of mindfulness. It gives us more self-awareness. It offers us tools to be able to cope with the stress and in and out of stress. So I
Mhm.
really do believe that that practice helped me not only like the mental emotional side of it, but the physical side to be able
Mhm.
to get pregnant. Does it cure infertility? No, I'm not going to say go do fertility yoga, you're going to be cured. But yeah, and then my relationship with Ayurveda came a little bit after I had kids when I was struggling with my own health issues postpartum, and then was integrating that in when I started teaching the fertility yoga and developing the fertility yoga piece.
Beautiful. I love that. And I think it's just a lovely reminder to take that pressure off of ourselves because it's so easy to just fall into that trap. And a lot of us have lived our lives in that manner to push and push and go and go. And I feel like when you're doing endless treatments and endless cycles and just doing what everyone outside of you is telling you to do,
Mhm.
it's like you can become so disconnected from yourself and your body. And I think that yoga is one of the many beautiful ways that you can bring that connection back. And clearly, your story is a perfect example of how that can work. So, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to always share that story because I think we need to hear it more. We need to hear that things are possible, that when you think things are over, they may not be, or it's just the universe really does have a what you want from the universe, they'll decide, the universe will decide when it's actually gonna make it happen, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what is Ayurveda exactly, and why would someone who's trying to conceive want to explore this modality to support their fertility?
Great question. Ayurveda is it's a mystical sort of, people hear the word maybe, or maybe people have never heard the word, which is also fine. But there's like a mystery shrouding Ayurveda. What is it? Is it like magical and so on? But really, Ayurveda is, if we look at the word, it's two words put together. Ayur, Ayur, means life. And then Veda means science, knowledge, wisdom. So really, it is the wisdom of life. And Ayurveda looks at life made up of many parts. So it's not just the physical body. So it's the physical, the mind, the soul, and the senses. So we're like constantly taking in information through our senses. So yeah, it's one of the oldest continually practiced medical systems in the world. It mostly based in India, in that area is where it was developed. It's depending on the text you're reading, anywhere from 2 to 5,000 years old. So it really is ancient knowledge, and it takes into account so many different things from diet. So usually Ayurveda is very much associated with diet and digestion and so on, which it is it is so amazing at getting better digestive health, but also biorhythms. So how we're flowing with nature, because we are nature, right? We are of the same. We're like the micro of the macro, or the macro of the micros. Right? We have forgotten our natural rhythms because of modern society and artificial light and industrial farming and so on. So we're not living in the rhythms of nature anymore. So Ayurveda helps us remember or reawaken those natural rhythms. It also uses herbal medicine, and it can be very simple, like from the spices that you use in your food, and then it can get more complicated. But lifestyle, like therapeutic body work, so Ayurvedic massage. So it really is like a whole cluster of amazing lifestyle practices that we can include into our lives. And it's really good at prevention of disease. And also, if you already have a diagnosed disease, it can help to lessen the severity of it. It might not necessarily cure it, although it could, depending on what it is that we're working with. But it is looking to address these underlying or the root causes early on, so things don't become a full-blown, out of control disease later in life. So if we think of fertility or infertility, but is considered a disease, Ayurveda can be so helpful in going, what's the underlying cause of this disease? I don't really like the word disease, but like dis-ease, break the word down, not disease, but dis-ease. So that something's not moving with ease in the body, in the reproductive system. So it can be extremely helpful. So through all those different techniques of diet and reconnecting with nature and so on, we can address fertility. Extremely great for unexplained infertility when Western medicine doesn't have any answers for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I use a little bit in my practice as well. What we typically will do is like a dosha quiz to see where people are at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to hear what you have to share about the three doshas and how that can reflect your individual constitution and how that can be helpful for you on your journey. So for me, when we were struggling to conceive, I was seeing an acupuncturist,
Mm-hmm.
and that was through traditional Chinese medicine. So he didn't necessarily call it a dosha, but my constitution, I tend towards cold and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So we implemented a lot of warming foods and wearing a camisole to make sure that my womb was staying warm, and
Mm-hmm.
socks and all these beautiful things. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that there's some similarities there, but I'd love to hear the
Yeah.
wisdom that you have to share on that.
Sure. Yeah. Traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda have so much overlap. It's really quite beautiful. Like even acupressure, many, not everybody, but many people believe that the acupressure points are based on the marma points of Ayurveda. So they developed similar times in history. So they definitely have so much overlap. And yeah, the doshas. So as I was saying, like we're a reflection of nature, right? Or we are part of nature. So it's not like we're actually a reflection. We are just part of it. So we're made up of the same elements and constitution as that which surrounds us. So in Ayurveda, they are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Ether being like space, openness, nothingness in a sense. And what we do is we combine them in certain ways to make up the doshas. And there's three doshas, and everybody has some of all three doshas in them. And usually you'll have one that's predominant, and then a secondary dosha, and then a third dosha that's like there but doesn't really influence you so much. So the first would be vata, V-A-T-A, which is air and ether. So if we think about the qualities of air and ether, it's like cold, right? Windy, airy, spaciousness, rough, like just, yeah, cold being the most important thing. Subtle, right? It's like you can't touch it. It's air and it's ether. And so that's vata. So some people will have a dosha that's dominant in vata, so they tend to be cold all the time. They're often like body type plays into this too. So generally like thinner, long, skinny fingers, like dry sort of hair, like not a ton of substance to hair, not thick, luscious hair. So that's vata. And then we have pitta, which is fire, predominantly fire, which is contained by water. Pitta folks tend to be fiery, like they're assertive. They generally tend to be very studious. They like organization. They like things all like do perfectly placed. Some people will say the perfectionists fall into this pitta category, and often like reddish skin tones could be part of it. Bodies are just generally like muscular, like average build, strong folks, and maybe red hair if we get really literal with pitta. So that's the fire surrounded by water. And then we have kapha, Kapha, kapha or kappa, doesn't matter really. You can say it both ways. And that is water contained by earth. So this, if we think about earth and water, they're heavy. So kapha people tend to be really like great for endurance, right? They can walk really long distances. They often tend to get a little bit lethargic too, like they're harder to get out of bed, harder to get moving, etc. So the kapha folks generally, I have a lot of kapha in me. I think this is a video, but like big, like hair, lots of hair, big eyes, things like that, that can be kapha. So we have these, all of these in us, and we'll have the dominant ones. And then that, as you said, really determines a lot of our individual needs in the fertility journey. So what I often see, most of my students will have an imbalance in vata. So even though the dosha, like your dosha, is important to know, I think what's more important is actually the imbalance that you're experiencing in the moment. So, like I said, a lot of folks are in a vata, like stuck in vata. So, like constant thinking, swirling thoughts, stress. This is all vata energy, fast moving, do this, do that, as well as sometimes caught in pitta, where everything needs to be perfect. I need to control everything, etc. So, we would look then at somebody's imbalance and say your Chinese medicine would be, hey, you're cold, right? Like you've got a lot of vata in you. You need to ground yourself. You need to slow down. Let's put a yoga practice in place that will really help with that grounding energy, that rooting energy. Warm foods, keep your body warm, keep the back of your neck warm, keep your kidneys warm, those sorts of things. Yeah. So I hope that kind of answers. So it's really the imbalance that we're mostly working with. The dosha doesn't change, it's how you were born. And for some people, it's really hard to even figure out what their dosha is because of their imbalance. So they could have like such a strong imbalance that they think, oh, I'm totally vata, but really you're pitta, but your vata is so out of control. So we just need to look for your dosha like over the life, like your whole life span. What have you been like? Not in the last 5 years or in this period of life. And then also compare it to your genetic pool. So that's important too, that you're not just comparing to the neighbor down the street, but you're looking at your family and be like, okay, I'm like an average build for the rest of my family, which is so kapha, right? All my family is so kapha, but I'm pitta kapha. So I have a little bit more pitta in me. So I know it's complicated, but that's why people like me study it so we can support people, or people like you who support people with the knowledge that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's a really cool way to get individualized with like lifestyle and diet
Mm-hmm.
as well. So one way that I incorporate the doshas is when they go through a detox phase. So with the cleanse and things like that, let's just say their pitta, we will have them add, or maybe they have the imbalance in the pitta, we'll have them add some like cooling herbs and things
Mhm.
like that in the detox and whatnot. So I just think it's a cool way, but it is complicated. You definitely have way, 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 way more knowledge than I did.
It's complicated, but it can be simple and
Yeah.
like it can be simplified. Let's say, like what you were saying, it can be just that. It's like, oh, you're cold, let's add warm because in Ayurveda, like increases, like increases like, and opposites balance, right? So we're always thinking, this is where I'm at. I'm too high here. I need to bring that down. So then I just add a little bit of that.
Hmm.
And diet is such a huge part of the diet, as in the food that we're eating, not go on a diet. And if if we think about the individuality of it, and often there's a lot of lip service going around these days about what you should be eating. This is a superfood. You need to be drinking 100 ounces of water a day. You need to be doing this and eat this and don't eat that. Like all of this advice. And so people then go on this diet or that diet. Why did my friend lose 40 pounds on keto and I haven't? I've lost 2 pounds or like, right. And that is why, is because we're all different, and what's working for your friend who's kapha who goes on keto, she may lose 40 pounds, but your vata going on keto, that's not going to do anything, or vice versa or whatever. So it really does help us understand why things are working for other people and they're not working for me, or what is the one thing that's going to work for me. And food is just such a huge part of Ayurveda. It really takes into account not just this, like you are what you eat, it's you are what you digest, because our digestion is so messed up from the chemicals that we're eating and so on, that we're, even if we're eating amazing foods, we're not necessarily getting the nutrients that we think we are getting from them if our digestion is not working properly. So it really focuses on, we call it Agni, like stoking the Agni, making sure that the fire in the belly is doing its job, because your whole body is nutrified from the food, like your tissues. So how and when I talk to my students, we say, okay, we look at the tissues of the body. There's 7 main tissues in Ayurveda, the dhatus, and at the very bottom are your reproductive tissue.
Hmm.
Everything like you eat, it takes a few days, it feeds this, then it feeds this, then it feeds this, and it trickles down. And so at the very, very bottom is your reproductive tissues. So they're getting fed last, very last. So if you're putting food in that's not getting digested properly, your reproductive tissues are not getting the nutrients that they need to function properly. So usually when I tell people that, they're like, whoa, okay. Like your body will always prioritize their survival over reproduction, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, blood, all the other things, lymph, all that goes first. They get everything first.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I would love to hear 3 simple Ayurvedic shifts or pivots that you could maybe offer to the listeners today that could have a pretty immediate effect on their fertility.
Yeah, so one, I could get lots, but I think if I were to pick just 3. So first it would be eating warm cooked food. So basically avoiding most raw food, which for some people is really hard because they love the crunchy salads and those sorts of things. But when we think about how the body is working, right, warmed food is basically already started to be broken down so that our body can break it down and get the nutrients out of it faster.
Hmm.
And that's what we really want. And it's warming. And like I said, there's so much vata imbalance in the fertility journey that we really need to think about creating that warm, juicy environment inside our bodies so that we're more juicy, which is what we want. Oh, just what we call it in Ayurveda, that juiciness is what feeds fertility. Okay. So that warm, digestible food with the warming spices, but depending on your digestion, not too hot. Or maybe you need to cool your digestion down too. But in general, like warming foods. So that would be my first: cook your food, then eat it. And with that, I'm going to put chew your food in there as well. So Ayurveda, like the golden rule is to chew every bite 30 times. And we've all heard this advice, like chew your food, chew your food. Here's why you want to do it. In your mouth is got a big microbiome, but your digestive enzymes to break down carbohydrates are actually released in your mouth, not necessarily in the stomach, which will have different digestive enzymes pumping through. So when we chew our food, and let's admit, like a lot of what we eat is carbohydrates, we need to chew so that the digestive enzymes will start breaking it down here and then take it down into the belly. So it can be so helpful in getting the nutrients out of the food that we want. Plus, it just is so much better for our digestive system. Your body doesn't have to work so hard to break things down. So that would be like first is around the food. And then the next would be to eliminate burden in the toxin forms, things that are in our everyday environment, because everything that our body takes in, we have to digest in some way. Not necessarily food, but if we have chemicals on our skin, our body needs to break down those chemicals. They need to put them somewhere. They're considered foreign, right? So we start getting all these like lumps and bumps and things in our bodies. That's just the body trying to push things somewhere that's not going to damage the system. So yeah, toxin elimination, I think, is huge. So removing the burden. So our body doesn't have to break down those toxins, right? What you're putting on your body, what your bathroom creams and your shampoo and your laundry detergent. It seems overwhelming, but it is so important. It is so important for our bodies to be, and they're hormone disruptors too, right? The estrogen disruptors and so on. That's two. And then the third, I would go with sleep. So how you're addressing sleep in your life. Ayurveda would say there's no such thing as a night owl. There's no such thing. And that we should be getting to bed before 10 o'clock is like our bedtime, because between 10 and 2, that is when our liver gets its little workup cleansing for the day, is between 10 and 2. So that takes a lot of energy. This is often when we get most of our deep sleep, which is our rejuvenating sleep, is in that time. So if you're not going to bed in that time frame, I mean, you could go to bed at 11, you'd probably be okay. If you're not getting the liver processing and you're not getting your deep sleep, that's going to have a huge effect on your body, on your life, on your mental health and emotional health moving forward. And of course, Ayurveda has lots of little tips for getting better sleep. But yeah, so those would be my big things.
Yeah. And I would agree that those are all very, very important things, and all things that you can really take action on today.
Yeah.
I would say the one that would take the most time to do would be swapping out your products and just starting with the big hitters, the ones that you're using every day, like your laundry detergent. If you think
Ooh,
about it, it's on
it's the
your
worst.
clothes, it's on your sheets, it's on your towels. It's like my washer and dryer are on our second floor, right next to our bedroom. It's going
Mm.
to the air,
Oh, yeah.
dryer sheets, like it really, really can make such a difference. Like you said, it can be overwhelming, but once you make the shift, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
And every little shift you're making is removing burden. That's how I like to try and frame. It's not all or nothing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, if I don't change my laundry soap, I'm not going to change my shampoo or whatever. It's no, every little thing, every little tiny change that you're making is going to matter. And over time, all of a sudden you'll be looking around your house going, oh, look, I got this great detergent that I found, the good one I love, and the shampoo that I love. And it's just, it takes time. I still get duped by the marketing of certain things still. I've been at this for so many years and I'll be like, what? Nobody told me that. What? And because they're tricky, marketing is tricky. If they put one drop of essential oil in, they can say made with essential oils. And then you flip it over, and they have fragrance there. So just if anything, it has fragrance or perfume or parfum. So they try and use the French and think it's fancy, that they're going to dupe you. It's all fragrance, fragrance, fragrance. Yeah.
Absolutely. Beautiful shares. And I'd love for you to share with the listeners the freebies you have, a fertility type dosha quiz, and then also a fertility yoga class.
Yeah. So on the website, if you go to my website, www.fertilebodyyoga.com, there's tons of freebies on there, but I think I gave you specific links. So there is a dosha quiz. It's really just a fun little foray into doshas, just a few questions. And then I also give you like, here are some great yoga poses to help with this dosha, etc., and how it relates to fertility. So it's pretty good. I have to say it's a pretty good one. And then there's a link for a free yoga class as well, which is like a typical class. I think it's an hour long, maybe 45-minute typical class that I teach. But I will say with the fertility yoga, it's something you have to do and show up for and do over time. It's not like, okay, I'm just gonna watch the video and see what it is. You got to get on the floor, you got to do it, you got to experience it. So it's a practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes practice too. You wouldn't go into the gym and expect to just start lifting heavy weights if you've never lifted
Exactly.
weights before.
Yeah.
Start where you can start, even if you do 10 minutes of the video and then build up
Hmm.
to 20, because sometimes 45 minutes or 60 minutes can seem like a lot. Give yourself a permission slip to do what you can do.
Oh yeah, I
Mhm.
always say do 10 minutes over doing none, because it's
Yeah.
like you don't have an hour every day that you can go to your yoga class. Maybe some people do, but I don't. I know. So sometimes my yoga practice is 5 minutes. I do three sun salutations, I'm done. Where other times it'll be 45 minutes of restorative yoga, which seems lovely too. And I encourage people, like when they get the recordings, to, like you said, like there will be like sequences, like the standing sequence or the warm up or the cool down or the balancing sequences. You just choose the one that you need for the day and do that. And yeah,
Hmm.
you don't have to do the whole thing for sure. It's a
Yeah.
lot of commitment to do the whole thing.
Those links will be in the show notes, and tell everyone about your podcast as well, Fringe Fertility.
Yes, you're going to be a guest on it. So that's the most important thing, right? Yeah. So I have a podcast. It's called Fringe Fertility. We were just really having conversations that you wouldn't have in the doctor's office. So just sort of like the fringe, I say tongue in cheek, in that most of the practices that are considered fringe in our society are actually ancient knowledge or wisdom that we have forgotten, and or different cultures that we're being introduced to. That's that. Yeah. Fringe Fertility Podcast.
Amazing. And do you want to share about your retreat?
Yes. So I am hosting a fertility retreat in New Hampshire on April 23rd to 27th. So it's a Thursday to Sunday retreat. And we are incorporating, of course, fertility yoga. There'll be Ayurveda woven into it. We're not doing like a sit down workshop on Ayurveda, but I'll be weaving it into the yoga, to the meditation, just to the food, to everything. And then I'm also incorporating two other practitioners. One is a Mercier therapist, Phoebe. So that's like deep abdominal massage, like activate the organs in the body. So she'll be doing a massage, and then also have Justine, who is a spirit baby medium. So we'll be doing spirit babies as well. And It's in, like I said, New Hampshire at Bethel Farm. So it's this farm to table. It's perfect. It's this beautiful place. We get the run of the grounds. We get the sauna and the cold plunge if appropriate for where you are in your cycle. And the farm to table food and like miles of nature trails to walk on, different room prices and add-ons and stuff like that if you want one-on-one time. So there's lots going on, and I'll give you the link for that too.
Yeah, and I checked it out. It looks beautiful. It looks like something that I would absolutely love to do. So go check it out, especially if you're just feeling like you need a break from life and responsibilities and extra support and just learning more about how you can nourish and support yourself and your fertility. So
Yeah.
let the listeners know where they can find you, connect with you, and learn more.
Yeah, so the website fertilebodyyoga.com. That would be the hub. So that's all the information is there. I'm on Instagram, also Fertile Body Yoga. Yeah, the Facebook doesn't matter so much these days. I'm not on there so much, but those are probably the best two ways to connect. Or you could just reach out to me. Kerry at fertilebodyyoga.com is the email address. So yeah, I'm here. Happy to answer questions.
All right, amazing. And all those links will be in the show notes. And thank you so much for this conversation, Kerry. Super fun. And I cannot wait for the ladies that are already signed up to just enjoy and receive on this retreat of yours.
Oh, it's going to be so amazing. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to do it for so many years and it's actually happening. So, yay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rising into Mindful Motherhood podcast. If this episode resonated with you or gave you an aha moment, stop what you're doing right now and write a review. This simple act of kindness helps me get this podcast out to connect with as many women as I possibly can. I also have a special offer. If you send me a screenshot of your review, I will take $250 off one of my premium coaching containers. Let me know what resonated with you the most and why. So connect with me in my free Facebook community or tag me on Instagram. You'll find both listed below. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart for tuning in to this episode, and I'll see you next time.